This video is not about latency, it's about time. It's not so much about how long it takes a trade to occur, but when that trade actually happens. I'm joined by Dan Watkins from Perseus. And Dan, can you tell me, how does the industry know what time it is? And why is that question so important in today's market?
There's one source of time in the US, and that's the National Institute Standard and Technology in Boulder, Colorado, where they operate an atomic clock. That's the standard for US time within the government, within the military aspect, is also in the SEC, in the FINRA compliance rules. So out of the 680,000 traders who are all FINRA regulated and the 4,800 broker-dealers who trade on 50 or so exchanges, everyone has to be within that standard. And so normally people have been communicating back to that atomic clock with GPS signals or GPS antennas and receivers, if you will, and validation of when timestamps have happened in their systems have generally had to be within a second. So you just mentioned nanosecond accuracy or nanosecond turnarounds in technology. Yes. So what's happened in the financial services over the last 10 years? People were trading from their office, using the phone. Exchanges were different places or outcry exchanges. Everyone are pretty much on the same wire line today. If you look at where the NASDAQ is, their traders and their environment are very close to them, maybe within 10, 100 feet or so. That time from where the exchanges and the broker-dealer are now down to microseconds. So in today's world, where the SEC and the FINRA compliance rules are looking closer at how those trades have happened between an exchange and a broker, within a broker or a fund manager or a hedge fund or an HFT, within their system, how fast they come up with computations. All of those elements are being measured and highly scrutinized, and we think that time is a big part of that.
When we talk about the regulatory requirements around time, I mean, what is it that folks need to focus on?
According to the OATS compliance rule 7430, a broker-dealer or a business responsible for executing orders on behalf of their investor or customer have to pull an attestation report from NIST, from the National Institute of Standards and Technology. Well, NIST is an atomic clock in Boulder, Colorado. So best way to get back to that clock, and generally accepted practice, was a GPS signal. And that could take a couple hundred milliseconds or so. But then the broker also has to buy equipment to communicate what that signal would say from NIST and then plug it into the broker's execution server, who would then send a report over to FINRA. That was about 1 second, 7430. New compliance rules like Consolidated Audit Trail, which are asking brokers to, simply what it says, consolidate how you found all pieces of that order, are saying that that time now has to be within 1 millisecond or finer.
And even 1 millisecond, though, that's a pretty large gap today. A millisecond is pretty much a year in dog years for a trader.
Let's look at regulation NMS, for example. NMS says that you have to find the best price before you make execution. In Europe, it's MiFID. So if I have to pull in data from multiple exchanges, match that with my portfolio of my investors, then send that through the electronic order management system process, you could easily be over a millisecond.
Gotcha. For folks looking to try to get on top of this, looking to make sure that they are in compliance with the new sort of audit trails that are required, what can they do? What is the answer for them? There
are some costs that have to be put into place in terms of infrastructure. How do you get access to that data now via NIST? GPS has been one way. Communicating that GPS server with GPS receivers or another. We're taking a different approach. Perseus is highly connected to all the exchanges. We've partnered with a company, Certicron, which we now are in control of their devices. We're essentially the Grandmaster Time clone server of the NIST atomic clock in Boulder, Colorado. And we've taken servers that are calibrated with the atomic clock, take about 70 million years to be off calibration by 1 second. We've taken those servers, we've deployed them at all the major exchanges in the US, we're deploying them in Europe, and we're able to give customers access to that data, access to that cloned server as though they were talking to the atomic clock from a
as a market participant. Why would I want to move to a solution like that? What value does that provide to me? Because right now I'm doing what I'm doing and no one seems to be bothering me.
Well, not true. You still have to have these FINRA reports
Right, of course.
today. Okay, so there are a lot of people who are accessing NIST today and providing FINRA reports. We think we can help them out with a more precise report. They have to deal with oscillation in their computer and with the GPS receivers and with the GPS signals and calculate all of that to come up with the accurate time. We'll inject time from the clone server, the Grandmaster clock, right to their server within the same data center in sub-microseconds.
Gotcha. Beyond the regulatory requirements associated with reporting for a combined audit trail, or consolidated audit trail, excuse me, what are the other opportunities that are afforded to members of the market with regards to time? What advantages can be gained by me having a more accurate understanding of exactly the time it is at a given location?
Intelligence. How do we know what's going to happen in the market? Well, you can always look at what the market did yesterday, compare that to what it did 3 months ago, compare what your trades look like versus your competitors' trades. And there's a lot of analysis going on about when things happened in time at particular markets with particular signals. And that data is being put into massive computation engines like a big IBM database or super fast GPU computation systems. But there's no standard in time except for the U.S. government. So you're using a one source of data from an exchange, another source of data from another broker. Each server different. You might have an HP, an IBM. They all have their own set of time clocks, right?
They all have their own clocks.
Right. So what we're saying is we're delivering U.S. government time. We are part of the U.S. government time scale. It's a standard. You have the compliance aspect. You have the ultra-low latency injection and precision of that time. Standardize that across your enterprise, and you can come up with better computations, better calculations, and be more precise.
So in the end, time equals clarity. The better time you have, the better clarity you have.
I think you said that very well.
Well, I want to thank you, Dan, for joining us here at Tab Forum.
Thank you, Alex.
I think time is going to be a conversation that we're going to hear more about. Beyond the latency question, it's really going to come down to time. Thank you.
Thank you.